Marcus arrived at his door at 6:47 p.m., the same time he always did, carrying the same quiet exhaustion he had carried for 3 years. His tie was loosened before he reached the second floor. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? His shoes felt heavier than they should. Inside his jacket pocket was a crumpled note from his son's teacher. Dylan had fallen asleep in class again. 3rd time this month. Marcus had read it on the subway and folded it smaller and smaller until it fit inside his fist, as if making it smaller would make the guilt smaller too. He was 34 years old and he was tired in a way that sleep could no longer fix. Since Sarah passed away, the apartment had become both his sanctuary and his reminder. Every unwashed dish, every unfolded blanket, every cereal bowl left on the counter by his 8-year-old son was proof of how thin he was stretched. He managed. He always managed. But managing and living had stopped feeling like the same thing a long time ago. He turned his key in the lock and pushed open the door. The smell hit him first. Lavender and pine, clean, the kind of clean that takes hours. He stood in the doorway, confused, thinking for a moment he had entered the wrong apartment. Then he saw her. Catherine Reyes, the chief executive officer of Hartfield Solutions, the woman who ran a company of 400 people, was on her knees in his kitchen, scrubbing the base of his refrigerator with a yellow sponge. She was wearing old jeans and a faded gray sweatshirt. Her hair was pulled back in a loose bun. She looked up when she heard him, and for a moment neither of them spoke. The floors had been swept. The dishes were done. Dylan's toys, usually scattered from the hallway to the living room like a small, colorful disaster, were neatly arranged in the basket by the couch. The laundry pile that had lived on the armchair for 2 weeks was gone, the windows caught. The evening light differently. Because someone had cleaned them. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. Catherine stood up slowly, peeling off rubber gloves, and she had the expression of someone who had been rehearsing what to say and had just forgotten every word. "I can explain," she said quietly. He waited. She looked around the apartment, then back at him, and something in her face shifted. The professional armor she wore so naturally just fell away, right there in his kitchen. 14 years ago, she began, I was a single mother. My daughter was 6. I was working 2 jobs and trying to finish my MBA at night, and I was drowning. Not the kind of drowning people see, the invisible kind. Marcus set his bag down slowly. My manager at the time, a man named Robert Chu, he found out somehow. I never told him. He just noticed. I came in one morning and there was an envelope on my desk. Inside was a grocery store gift card and a handwritten note that said, "You are doing the work of 3 people. Let someone carry a little today." Her voice had gone soft. He never mentioned it again, never made it a moment about himself. He just saw me, and that one act of kindness gave me enough strength to keep going. I finished my degree. I built my career. I became everything I am because one person decided to show up when I was invisible. Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. "I see you, Marcus," she said simply. "I see you come in every morning, already depleted. I see you answering emails at midnight, because that's the only quiet time you get. I see the snack wrappers in your car, and the notes you write to, Dylan and taped to his lunch bag. Even when you're exhausted, I see how hard you are working to hold everything together." She paused, and her eyes were bright. "You haven't complained once, not once. And I just thought, let me be Robert Chu for someone. Let me carry a little today." The silence that followed was the softest silence Marcus had experienced in years. He didn't trust himself to speak immediately. So he looked at the clean counter, at Dylan's toys in the basket, at the gleaming window, at all the small evidence of someone deciding that he mattered. When he finally looked back at her, his eyes were full. "My son asked me last week if I was okay," he said, his voice breaking slightly at the edges. "He's 8. He shouldn't be worrying about me." But I didn't even know what to say to him, because the honest answer was, "I don't know." He pressed his fingers to his eyes for a moment. "This is the first time in 3 years that I've walked into this apartment and it felt like someone else was in my corner." The tear that escaped was quiet. No drama, just release. Catherine nodded, because she understood that some feelings don't need a response, only a witness. They sat at his clean kitchen table, and she stayed long enough to help him heat up the pasta. She had also quietly made and left in the refrigerator. When Dylan came home from his after-school program and saw his toys sorted and smelled real food cooking, he looked up at his dad with wide eyes and said, "Did something good happen today?" And Marcus laughed, a real laugh, the kind he hadn't heard from himself in too long, and said, "Yeah, buddy, something really good happened today." True leadership is not the title on your door. It is the moment you choose to see the invisible struggle of someone beside. You and quietly say, "Not with words, but with action, I see you. You are not alone." And that is enough to change everything. If this story touched your heart, please show your love by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel, Kindness True Stories, where we bring you real moments of humanity that remind us what truly matters.